The thing about working for the Department of Homeland Security's Intelligence Division is that your family never truly understands what classified means. Not really. To them, it's just a word you use to sound important. Something to avoid explaining your boring desk job. A way to make yourself seem more interesting than you actually are. I'm Sarah Mitchell, 31 years old, and I've worked as a Senior Intelligence Analyst for DHS for 6 years. My security clearance is TS/SCI, with special access to counterterrorism intelligence. I analyze threat data, coordinate with international agencies, and help prevent attacks on U.S. soil. But to my family, I'm just Sarah who works for the government doing paperwork. My older sister, Amanda, is a pediatrician. My younger brother, Kyle, runs a successful marketing agency. They have careers people understand, careers they can explain at parties, careers that make mom and dad proud. I've spent 6 years saying, I can't discuss my work, so many times that my family genuinely believes I have nothing interesting to discuss. The problem started 3 months ago when I made the mistake of working from home during a family visit. I'd been at my parents' house in suburban Virginia for Mom's birthday weekend. It was supposed to be relaxing, a break from the intensity of my job. But Friday afternoon, my supervisor called with an urgent situation. A credible threat just came in, Director Walsh said. We need immediate analysis. I'm sending the intelligence packet to your secure home system now. Understood, I replied, already heading to my childhood bedroom where I'd set up my secure laptop. I follow strict protocols for remote work. Encrypted laptop, biometric authentication, isolated network connection, and physical security measures. My bedroom door had a reinforced lock I installed myself. The windows had security film. It was as secure as a civilian location could get. The intelligence packet contained 47 pages of classified data, intercepted communications, surveillance photos, financial tracking, and source reports, detailing a suspected terrorist cell planning an attack on U.S. transportation infrastructure. Lives depended on my analysis being accurate and fast. I worked for 3 hours straight, cross-referencing data, building timelines, identifying pattern connections. I was deep in the work when Mom knocked on my door. Sarah, honey, dinner's ready. I'll be down in an hour, Mom. I'm working. Sweetie, you need to relax. It's just work. It can wait. I wanted to explain that just work meant preventing people from dying, but I couldn't. So I repeated, I'll be down when I'm finished. Please don't disturb me. I heard her talking to Dad downstairs afterward. She's locked herself in her room again. I don't understand why she can't take a weekend off. How important can government paperwork possibly be? By 8 p.m. I'd finished the assessment, transmitted it through secure channels, and joined the family for a late dinner. Amanda had already left for a patient emergency. Kyle was showing Mom and Dad his latest marketing campaign on his tablet. Sarah finally emerges, Dad teased. Your brother's been here all weekend without checking his work once. You could learn something about work-life balance. My work has different requirements, I said carefully. Bureaucracy waits for no one, huh? Kyle laughed. I don't miss working for other people. Being your own boss means freedom. I let it go like always. They didn't understand that I wasn't just checking emails. I was analyzing threats to national security. But since I couldn't tell them that, I just seemed like a workaholic with poor boundaries. The next morning, I left my secure laptop locked in my bedroom while I went for a run. Standard protocol. My family had been briefed repeatedly not to touch my work materials. I was gone 45 minutes. When I returned, sweaty and ready for a shower, my bedroom door was open. My heart dropped. The laptop was still on my desk, closed. But my briefcase was open, and the printed intelligence packet was gone. Mom. I called, trying to keep my voice steady. Did someone come into my room? Oh, honey, yes, Mom called back from the kitchen. I needed to grab your laundry. The door was locked, but I used the master key. Don't worry, I didn't touch your computer. The master key. The one I'd forgotten existed since high school. I ran downstairs. Mom, Dad, and Kyle were in the living room, surrounded by 47 pages of classified intelligence spread across the coffee table. Mom, I said, forcing calm. Where did you get those papers? From your briefcase, sweetheart, she said cheerfully. Kyle was asking about your work, and I thought it'd be nice for you to share for once. You're always so secretive. He smiled, oblivious. It's actually quite interesting, though I don't understand most of it. Kyle was holding a page with surveillance photos. Dad was reading a top-secret/AI/no foreign memo. These are classified documents, I said quietly. You've just committed a federal crime. Oh, Sarah, don't be so dramatic, Mom laughed. It's just your work papers. We're your family. These documents detail an active counterterrorism investigation, I said, pulling out my phone. Unauthorized access is a felony. Unauthorized disclosure could get people killed. Relax, Dad waved dismissively. We're not telling anyone. We were just curious what you actually do all day. My phone had a panic button, a feature for exactly this situation. Unauthorized access to classified materials. I pressed it. You need to put those documents down immediately, I said. Do not read another word. Put them on the table and step away. We're just sharing your boring government work, Mom said, exasperated. Is this Arabic? Dad asked, squinting at a page. This is actually pretty cool, Kyle said, lifting his phone to snap a photo. You're like a real analyst. Kyle, delete that photo. Now. It's just for me. I'm not posting it anywhere. I pressed the emergency alert again for confirmation. Response time 3 to 5 minutes. Everyone needs to sit down, I ordered. Put down all documents and keep your hands visible. Sarah Michelle Mitchell, Mom scoffed. You're being ridiculous. We're your parents. Unauthorized persons have accessed top-secret materials related to an active counterterrorism operation, I said, partly for the recording. 3 individuals present. Location: 2847 Oak Valley Drive, Manassas, Virginia. Materials compromised. Full packet reference number. Kyle's expression changed from smug to terrified. Wait, you called someone? I activated mandatory response protocols, I said. That's my job. Within minutes we heard engines outside. Sarah, Dad said, looking out the window. There are black SUVs in our driveway, at least 4. Those would be the Homeland Security response teams, I replied. You called the police on your own family? Mom shrieked. I followed federal law, I said quietly. What happens next isn't my choice. The front door burst open. 6 armed agents in tactical gear swept into the room. Homeland Security. Everyone on the ground, now. Mom screamed. Dad froze. Kyle dropped his phone and hit the floor. Within seconds the agents had the room secured. One approached me. Agent Mitchell? Yes. 3 unauthorized individuals accessed classified materials from my briefcase. Full packet Operation Sandstone. 1 individual photographed pages on a personal device. Secure all electronics, the lead agent ordered. Bag the documents. Nobody touches anything. Mom was crying. Sarah, what is happening? Why are you doing this to us? I'm not doing anything, Mom. You accessed top-secret materials without authorization. That's a federal offense. The lead agent scanned the papers. Jesus Christ. These are active operation files. Yes, sir, I said. I was conducting remote analysis. The materials should have been secured in a locked case. That's my error. But the unauthorized access occurred when my mother used a key to enter my room and remove them without permission. Your mother? The agent asked, glancing at the 3 people on the floor. Family members? Sir. They were repeatedly briefed not to touch my materials. Did they know they were classified? The documents are clearly marked, top secret, on every page. They were informed. They chose to read them anyway. Kyle started crying. I didn't know it was this serious. Sarah, please, tell them it was a misunderstanding. You photographed a classified document, I said flatly. That's not a misunderstanding. That's a felony. Another agent came down from upstairs. Secure device appears untouched. Biometric lock intact. No unauthorized access. Thank God, I murmured. If they'd opened my laptop, this would have been far worse. The lead agent pulled me aside. Walk me through what happened. I gave him the full timeline. When I finished, he sighed. They'll be arrested, he said. You understand this could destroy your family. I understand, I said quietly. But those documents could expose sources and get people killed. Family or not, they don't get a pass. He nodded. You did the right thing. But I'm sorry anyway. Then I watched as they handcuffed my mother, father, and brother. Reading them their rights one by one. Mom had been hysterical. Dad had looked at me with betrayal in his eyes. Kyle kept saying, I'm sorry. I'm sorry. I didn't know. But they had known. I'd told them 100 times not to touch my work materials. They just never believed those materials actually mattered. My sister, Amanda, arrived an hour later. She'd been contacted as next of kin. She found me sitting in the living room, now a documented crime scene, with agents still processing evidence. What the hell happened? Amanda demanded. Mom called me crying from the police station. She said you had her arrested. She accessed classified intelligence documents, I said wearily. So did Dad and Kyle. I followed mandatory security protocols. The rest was inevitable. Over paperwork? Sarah, there are parents, not paperwork. Active counterterrorism intelligence that could compromise ongoing operations and get people killed if disclosed, I said evenly. And I don't care if there are parents. The law doesn't care either. Amanda stared at me. You've lost your mind. You're going to let our mother go to prison over your stupid job. It's not my choice, Amanda. They committed federal crimes. The moment they accessed those documents, the outcome was determined. I reported it as required by law. Everything after that is out of my hands. You could have not reported it. Then I would have committed a felony, failure to report a security breach. I'd have lost my clearance, my career, and probably faced criminal charges myself. And if that intelligence had been further compromised, people might have died. Is that what you wanted me to do? She looked at me like I was a stranger. I wanted you to protect your family. I am protecting my family, I said quietly. And about 330 million other people who live in this country. Your family isn't more important than national security. No one's is. Amanda left without another word. The investigation took 3 weeks. Mom, Dad, and Kyle were released on bond but faced serious federal charges. Unauthorized access to classified materials, unauthorized disclosure, and in Kyle's case, unauthorized reproduction of classified documents. Their lawyer, a former federal prosecutor who understood exactly how bad this was, negotiated plea agreements. Mom and Dad pleaded guilty to misdemeanor unauthorized access. 2 years probation, $50,000 fines each, and mandatory security training. Kyle, because he'd photographed the documents, faced felony charges. He pleaded guilty to 1 count in exchange for 18 months in federal prison, followed by 3 years of supervised release. My family was destroyed. The legal fees alone bankrupted my parents. Kyle's marketing business collapsed. Who wants to hire a convicted felon who photographed classified government documents? His wife filed for divorce. Amanda refused to speak to me. Extended family took sides, most of them against me. I was disinvited from family gatherings, removed from group chats, treated like I'd committed some unforgivable betrayal. And maybe I had, from their perspective. But from mine, they'd committed an unforgivable betrayal first. They'd been told repeatedly not to touch my work materials. They'd been warned that my work was classified and serious. They chose to disregard all of that because they didn't believe what I did actually mattered. They'd been wrong. 4 months after the incident, I sat in Director Walsh's office for a security review. Your family situation has been thoroughly investigated, she said, reviewing the file. We've concluded you followed all proper protocols. In fact, your response to the breach was exemplary. Thank you, ma'am. However, your home environment has been deemed insecure for remote work. Future assignments requiring classified materials will need to be conducted in secure facilities only. I understand. She closed the file and looked directly at me. How are you holding up? Honestly, ma'am, not great. But I'd make the same choices again. Good, she said. Because that's the only right answer. National security can't be compromised for personal relationships. The moment you put family loyalty above operational security, you become a liability. Yes, ma'am. For what it's worth, Mitchell, I'm sorry. I know this cost you everything, but you saved an operation that was already on a knife's edge. The intelligence your family accessed included source identification data. If that had been disclosed, we would have lost critical assets in a hostile region. People would have died. They still don't understand that, I said quietly. They think I chose paperwork over family. They'll probably never understand. Most people can't conceptualize what we actually do because we work in the shadows. We prevent disasters that never happen. There are no headlines for attacks we stop. No credit for lives we save. Your family will probably always see you as the person who destroyed their lives over nothing. I know. Can you live with that? I thought about it, really thought about it. Yes, I said finally. As I know the truth. That intelligence packet contained information that could have compromised 8 human sources, 3 ongoing operations, and potentially revealed intelligence gathering methods to hostile actors. My family's comfort isn't worth that price. Nobody's is. Director Walsh smiled faintly. You're going to go far in this agency, Mitchell. Unfortunately, you're also going to be very lonely. She'd been right on both counts. 6 months later, I was promoted to lead intelligence analyst with a 22% pay increase and expanded operational authority. My career had never been better. My personal life was in ruins. Mom sent a letter from her court-mandated security training. It was full of hurt and confusion. She wrote that she'd only wanted to understand my work, that as my mother she deserved to know what her daughter did all day. She still didn't get it. Dad wouldn't communicate at all. Amanda sent one email. I hope your job was worth it. You've lost your family. Kyle wrote from federal prison. Unlike the others, his letter showed some understanding. Sarah, I'm not going to say I forgive you because I'm still angry. My life is ruined, but I get it now. They made us sit through classes about classified information and why it matters. I understand what could have happened if I'd posted that photo online like I almost did. People could have died. I'm still angry that you didn't warn me better, didn't make me understand. But I also know I should have listened when you told me not to touch your stuff. I just never thought it was actually important. I'm sorry. Kyle. It was the closest thing to an apology I'd received. I wrote back carefully. All prison correspondence was monitored. I told him I was sorry too. That I wish things had gone differently. That I hoped he'd rebuild his life when he got out. I didn't tell him that I'd do it all again if I had to. But I would. The operation I'd been analyzing, Operation Sandstone, successfully interdicted a terrorist cell planning coordinated attacks on subway systems in 3 major cities. 47 people were arrested. Hundreds, possibly thousands of lives were saved. My family would never know that. The operation was classified. The success would never make headlines. The people whose lives were saved would never know how close they'd come to dying. But I knew. And that knowledge had to be enough. A year after the incident, I attended Kyle's release from federal prison. Amanda was there, still not speaking to me. Mom and Dad came but sat on the opposite side of the room. Kyle looked older, worn down. Prison had been hard on him, but he hugged me when we met outside. Thank you for coming, he said quietly. You're still my sister. Even after everything? Even after everything. We talked for a while. Carefully neutral conversation about his plans, job prospects, hopes for rebuilding. He asked about my work. I can't discuss it, I said. This time he just nodded. I get it now. Took prison for me to understand, but I get it. Mom approached as we were talking. Her eyes were full of pain. Was it worth it? She asked. Destroying your family over your job? I thought about Operation Sandstone. About the subway cars that weren't bombed. About the people who went home to their families that day, never knowing how close they'd been to dying. Yes, I said quietly. It was worth it. He walked away, maybe for the last time. Dad stopped as he passed. I don't understand you anymore, Sarah. I don't know if I ever did. I know, I replied. And I'm sorry for that. But I'm not sorry for doing my job. He left without another word. Amanda paused near my car. Do you ever regret it? She asked. Every day, I admitted. But I'd still make the same choice. Then you're not the sister I grew up with. No, I said. I'm not. I'm someone who takes her oath seriously. Someone who understands that protecting people sometimes means making choices that destroy your own life. You save lives every day as a doctor. You understand sacrifice. Not like this. Not turning on your own family. They turned first, I said quietly. When they decided my work didn't matter enough to respect basic boundaries. When they chose curiosity over my repeated warnings. They made their choices. I just dealt with the consequences. She drove away without responding. I stood in that parking lot for a long time, watching my broken family disappear in different directions, knowing I'd been the one to shatter us. But I also knew that somewhere people were alive because I'd done my job. Because I'd prioritized national security over family comfort. Because I'd made the hard choice when it mattered. 2 years later, I received the intelligence community's Exceptional Service Medal. The citation was classified. I couldn't tell anyone what it was for. At the private ceremony, Director Walsh shook my hand. "Your work on Operation Sandstone and subsequent operations has been extraordinary," she said. "You've demonstrated exactly the kind of integrity this agency needs." "Thank you, ma'am. I know what it cost you. I'm sorry it had to cost that much." "It is what it is." She looked at me thoughtfully. "You know, Mitchell, most people in your situation would have let their family off with a warning. Secured the documents, given them a stern lecture, never reported the breach. It would have been easier, safer for your career, honestly." "And wrong," I said. "The protocols exist for a reason. I don't get to ignore them because enforcement is inconvenient." "Exactly. And that's why you're receiving this medal. Because integrity means doing the right thing even when it destroys you." The medal sits in my apartment now in a locked case requiring biometric access. Like everything else in my life, it's something I can't share, can't explain, can't use to help people understand who I am or what I've sacrificed. My family still doesn't speak to me. They probably never will. But somewhere out there, hundreds of people are alive because I stopped an attack they'll never know about. Because I protected intelligence that kept sources safe and operations secure. Because I chose duty over family when it mattered most. That has to be enough. It's all I have left. And standing in my secure apartment looking at that classified medal, a symbol of sacrifices no one will ever know, I realized something. I'd do it all again. Every painful choice. Every relationship destroyed. Every lonely holiday, missed birthday, and cold shoulder from the people I loved. I'd do it all again because that's what the oath meant. That's what service meant. And some things, national security, operational integrity, the lives of people who will never know I existed, are worth more than my family's forgiveness. Even if that truth leaves me completely alone. It's enough. It has to be enough.